Before we look at other issues, I just wanted to ask you another quick question on India. We have huge ambitions of becoming a developed nation. But it's not just GDP growth alone which is going to ensure that that happens. That GDP growth has to be fueled by jobs and job creation. How does that remain a key concern? And are there any numbers which you feel India needs to do in terms of job generation annually?
So India has done extremely well in terms of the headline growth numbers. At 7% growth that we have for this year, it makes it the fastest growing major economy in the world. And if you look at the last couple of decades of growth, the last decade of growth, I would say, growth has averaged around 6.6%. But if you look at employment growth, it's been lower than 2%, which is a bit of a different story from most other countries that you track in the G20. So certainly India's growth has been much more capital intensive. There's been improvements in productivity, but much less in terms of hiring a lot more workers and creating a lot more jobs. So the question is, what will it take to change that? There are some things that have to be done in the near term, some that will require acting on now, but will pay out later. So in terms of the near term, I think firstly, it's very helpful to improve the ease of doing business. We see that in states in India, like Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. We see that there is much more interest in investment there. That's the way you get private investment up. It's tied to the business climate. Foreign direct investment is more attracted to these states. For the labor market, implementing the labor market codes that were passed by the parliament, very helpful to get more labor market flexibility. Removing trade restrictions is going to play a very important role. Public infrastructure investment, which is already happening, more of that will absolutely help. But to make this a medium long-term growth story requires more investment in human capital and in skilling of workers. If you just look at India's workforce in terms of the number of years of education, it's much lower than compared to its peers. So investing in raising the skill level of the country is going to be absolutely critical. Also then in terms of the agricultural sector, raising productivity of the agricultural sector, very important to be able to move workers out of agriculture. So it's going to take a multi-pronged approach. The numbers are large. You're looking at the need to create between now and 2030, between 60 and 148 million jobs. You can't do that by just targeting a few areas. It's going to require broad-based job creation across manufacturing and services.